Good afternoon. Uh, yep, today we're continuing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Um, we'll be defending the unluckiest man in court again. He's so unlucky actually, but okay. Sorry, I was a little bit slow starting the stream because like as I brought my glass of water in here, I spilled some. Also a bit on my desk because I like bumped it on. Yeah, I spilled some of the water and had to clean it up. But it's fine. Nothing nothing important. Just my mouse pad got kind of water spilled on it. But yeah. Yeah, let me switch it. We can switch it over to the game. Okay, then just give me one moment and then we'll get into it. Because I forgot to do. I left my phone on the other side of the room and need to silence it. Okay, I'm good now. The 22nd of February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out in a nervous sweat at the same time. I should have waited for the ad to be done. That's fine. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon.
That's my line. Good morning.
Ah, good morning, Mr. Natsume.
It was only 2 days ago, that I was declared not guilty here.
Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back.
But now this. Another morning, another murder. And here I am again, in this blasted place. Can't keep going to court.
I'm beginning to think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed. Mr. Naruhodo, I am afraid I have bad news. Oh. Mr. Natsume, good morning.
Yes, morning.
So, here we are again.
Yes, again. Judicial Assistant Miss Mikotaba Esquires. What's the bad news?
Oh dear. You heard, did you?
If you can come in shouting at the top of your voice, people can't help hearing what you say.
Oh, I am sorry. You've done nothing wrong, Miss Susato. Now, what is it? Well, it seems that the prosecution in today's trial will be led by Lord Beric Van Zieks. Van Zieks?
Ah, oh no. Oh no, no.
The so-called Reaper of the Bailey, the most legendary prosecutor in the land. In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Saseki-san and I relentlessly. Of course, by the skin of our teeth, we managed to pull through, but still. Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter. After all, yes, I know what you're thinking. The legend of the Reaper that says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zieks is the prosecutor.
Oh no.
That even if that person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end, one way or another. And we've experienced it firsthand. A man we successfully defended met the most terrifying end after his acquittal right here in the Old Bailey.
Do I have to put up with those ice cold eyes pouring into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper. Pair of petrifying perils potentially.
Well, if it is potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume.
Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Yes?
I'm innocent. You have to believe me.
You
more than anyone now.
Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle. I promise. And this promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom. Let's go. Excuse me. Oh, yes, I forgot to say. I'm afraid he won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean. That's probably for the best. Oh. If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. And that could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Van Zeeks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least that's my gut feeling. Mr. Naruhodo.
You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Well said.
I swear on this sword at my side, and on the spirit of Kazuma that it harbors. I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free, with honor. Oh, yes. The 22nd of February, 9:40 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and the defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The the prosecution is ready.
The defense is ready, my lord.
Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat.
It's not just my imagination. It's really there. Lord Van Zeeks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. It was some time ago now that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years, He hasn't appeared in court at all. Yet now he's back in the courtroom, though, for some reason. Only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Soseki-san's trial. Excuse me. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty?
Absolutely. I had a feeling this Larkin wasn't innocent before.
I must say that I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right.
Oh, well, I rather like how you're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually.
I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick.
I couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight or the missus will go through the roof. May the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to a righteous verdict.
How do we keep seeing the same jurors? Why? Why? we got Bruce Fairplay again. We have 2 people from 3 of these jurors. Three of these jurors sat for Soseki-san's first trial. This is messed up. Unless the old man's a different old man. Like how could these jurors be the same? The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public, and that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt. 6 citizens of London, chosen at random, or at least that's the idea.
The prosecution would like to draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today. But they intentionally brought the same jurors back? Why? Very well, let us commence this trial. Lord Van Zeeks, your opening statement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded to this eccentric Nipponese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime. Namely, that of the attempted murder of his neighbor lodger, an innocent Englishman. That's some way to paint it. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witness to the stand. The detective responsible for investigating the scene, and the accused himself. What, he's calling Natsume as a witness immediately? Witnesses, your names and occupations, please.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division.
Soseki Natsume, from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student to study your language and culture. Mr. Natsume? Yes, my lord, sir. I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken that you swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember it as if it were yesterday. The day before, in fact, my lord. But close enough. Believe me, this is the last place I want to be. Inspector, let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court.
Right you are, sir. The incident occurred at the Garda household, where the defendant has lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare. The defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shamspeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by strychnine.
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 Something like that.
He was found the following morning when the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door.
This means, I presume, that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident. Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry or exit from the room impossible.
Although the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, lives to tell the tale. He very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when we found him. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have a photographic print here that I took at the time to show how it looked.
Yes. A chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much deceased.
That's right. Everyone present believed that's exactly what he was.
Very well. I shall accept this photographic print as evidence for the court. The crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. Now then, Mr. Natsume.
Yes.
As the defendant, do you have anything to say at this juncture? Be careful, Soseki. Be careful.
They're haunted. Haunted by evil spirits.
Good gracious. What's haunted?
My lodgings. There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings. The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned, and me? What about me? I've nearly been killed countless times.
Killed, Mr. Natsume. How?
Even on that fateful night, it happened when I returned from Mr. Shamspeare's room. I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out and somebody tried to kill me.
You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume.
But it's so cold. My runny nose would freeze. The point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed?
Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of the events. Excuse me. If I could raise one more point, my lord, one more conclusive point. Conclusive? Go on. Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shamspear, has regained consciousness after his ordeal. And he has named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. The tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused.
The accused? Good grief.
Order! Order! Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. If Soseki-san is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him? Well, Mr. Natsume, what have you to say on this accusation?
That
Sorry.
That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspear's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never.
The public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before. That will do. Thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection.
I don't know why I'm yawning so much.
None whatsoever, my lord.
Good. Then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now.
Yes, my lord.
The catastrophic night.
It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and I took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. My tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he?
Strikening. Strike 9 takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest left. The argument still stands.
Yes, but how long does it take to kill someone? Yes, I see. It is all relatively straightforward. Excuse me, but that testimony does raise one rather crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsume claims his tea to have been harmless, presumably, though the teacups have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they? Why didn't I think of that?
Well, as it happens, no, we haven't been able to.
Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect's substance. How could you have overlooked something so important? Isn't that the first thing you should have done?
My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked.
Unable? Why? Isn't that because we removed the teacups for the crime scene? Look, I have them right here in my pocket. You know?
It's simple enough. There was none left. Not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed.
With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances.
We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough.
The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question.
That would be able to be confirmed by the autopsy. I see, thank you. The matter is clear.
Excuse me.
Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend.
What?
You can see it in their faces, I'm sure. The recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity.
He's right. I can feel all 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. But I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord.
Hold it!
Were you and your neighbor good friends then?
No! We weren't friends. Not at all. Not at all. Never, ever.
A simple no would have sufficed. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit?
Mr. Shamspear fancies himself as having a great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we find much to talk about together. Come now. No Nipponese could understand the finer points of English literature.
And on the night in question, that was the topic of conversation as well, I presume.
It was the day of my last trial. When I was acquitted, I'd just arrived back at my lodgings. When I ran into Mr. Shamspear outside on the street, that was at around 6 o'clock. We exchanged 1 or 2 pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at the time, though. So I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. But did I have ill intentions? No. Not one. Not two. Not any. Not at all. Never. Ever.
A simple no would have sufficed, I feel.
Then, tell the court what did happen when you visited the accused's room, the victim's room.
a literary debate about Shakespeare's works, I think you said, didn't you? Shakespeare. Ah, a very worthy topic of conversation, I must say.
Oh, yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet. Who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley.
Romeo and Juliet.
Who was stronger?
I know I'm going to regret asking this, but how did the debate go?
Well, we both agreed that we would reach a conclusion more quickly with a reenactment. So we battled it out in a Greco-Roman style, naturally.
What?
Mr. Shamspeare had all sorts of costumes in his room for just such a contest.
So when you say a reenactment, you mean you were actually in costume?
He as Romeo, I as Juliet, and after a vigorous, wild tussle, I, as Juliet, came out on top, a victory I'll cherish forever.
I dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage. Maybe I'm gonna have to go get something to help wake me up a little bit, apparently.
The
One sec. Okay.
fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct? I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. I'd heard that he was too poor to have tea himself, you see.
It's true. There was no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room.
I wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. So why is everyone looking at me with such suspicion?
So, I would like to point out, if he made a pot of tea and poured, like, it means he drank the tea himself as well, Which means if the poison was actually in the tea, then it would have had to have been placed in his cup. Like, the only way Saseki-san could have done it is if Shamspear gave him an opportunity while they were like having their discussion or whatever.
My tea was harmless. Of course it was.
And do you have any basis for that statement, witness? He drank it himself.
Hold it!
Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there?
That's... that's correct. Anyone who would...
Sorry.
That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would have needed to analyze it for poison.
And you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume?
Yes, definitely. By heaven and earth, I swear it.
The landlord was able to verify that, as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night.
And how is the landlord able to attest to this?
He, said it was the lamps, I believe.
The lamps, Inspector. No, are we getting into this right now? When tenants return to their rooms and start using gas, the lamps in other parts of the house flicker. Yes. Mr. Garrett seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants.
There's only one key to Mr. Shamspear's room. I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself from inside his room.
The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes.
So I'm right. My tea was harmless. Completely harmless. If you take poison, you die. Everyone knows that.
It's not that simple, I'm afraid.
What do you mean?
Okay. You better tell me how this poison works. How long does it take for symptoms to appear then?
According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison is consumed. Then the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation.
There seems to be oh, sorry. So, there's a 30-minute interval between when the poison is ingested and the onset of symptoms. There seem to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure. Oh dear. Death by poisoning again. It's always so awful.
"30 minutes is a long time." Certainly, long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left.
You can't deny that. And it further degrades Soseki-san's alibi.
I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. It spells it out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it.
Very well. The court will add this report to the court record as evidence. Okay. Oh, yes. I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms. Great. Okay, so I need to read this immediately. Victim, William Shamspeare, 31. Cause of coma, ingestion of a small quantity of strychnine. Toxic effects present 30 minutes after ingestion. High likelihood of the substance having been mixed with the tea the victim was drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing. The poisoning incident occurred at around 1:30 a.m. on 21st of February. Assessed from the victim's pocket watch that appears to have broken when the man collapsed after the delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. See, this is why this is why you need to know how the poison works.
The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest. The argument still stands.
But still, that's horrible. He was dying for 4 hours before he was found. Because that was the other thing. If he was poisoned earlier in the night, then he would have definitely died. I knew that there was something wrong with the timing on this.
Hold it!
Like, I figured it was highly probable. The argument still stands, you say.
This is what Mr. Natsume has been saying, isn't it? The pair of them drank tea together that night. So if there was poison in it, the victim wouldn't have been able to lock the door after the accused left later on.
Exactly. Me and my tea are innocent. Sweet and innocent, I tell you.
I'm afraid, sir, That doesn't follow. You see, strychnine's a slow-acting poison. In other words, it takes time for the symptoms to appear. So you could have left the room up to 30 minutes after the victim drank the tea. And as long as you did that, Mr. Shamspear could have locked the door after he'd gone.
But no. We drank the tea straight away. The battle over whether Romeo or Juliet was stronger, that came after the tea. Do you have any evidence to support that statement? In my great homeland, the Empire of Japan, we have a saying. Drink tea while it's hot.
Sure, a proverb will satisfy the prosecution. I'm afraid there's no conclusive proof to support the defendant's assertion. On the contrary, there are sufficient grounds to infer his guilt in this matter.
No.
That's the extent of their testimony, is it? If I could voice a personal opinion, Mr. Naruhodo. Of course, go ahead. Mr. Natsume is arguing for his innocence so adamantly and so persistently. Yet Inspector Gregson just brushes off what he says. It's really quite infuriating. I agree. So we need to find an inconsistency in what the inspector is saying, I think. I'm afraid so. As things stand, the jurors are sure to find Mr. Natsume guilty. As I see it, we need to focus on the poison and the tea. Yes. Let's listen to the testimony again carefully.
Objection!
My lord, there are clearly grounds for being suspicious of this last statement. I'm sorry, counsel, but I fail to see why. Well, you know, I was just playing the... Yes, you do appear to have something of a devil in you, Mr. Naruhodo. Wait, which statement do I need to present this on? On this one?
Objection!
The argument still stands, you say. I think not, Inspector.
Come again?
I think you'll find that you've overlooked a very significant chronological inconsistency here.
What? What are you on about?
According to this report, the victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning. And yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 full hours after the defendant left? They both had the exact same animation there. The defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Van Zieks? Lord Van Zieks.
Pray, forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would best complement the contents of my hollowed chalice. This luncheon.
Yeah?
How could it have happened? You ask. I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea.
Phantom?
Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report. Yes, at around 1:30.
Objection!
Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor. And in Japan, there's a well-known saying, drink tea while it's hot.
Objection!
And in my country, there's an even more apt saying. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea.
The point is, if there was such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned. Other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, Counsel? Well, for example, the man could have had another visitor.
Another visitor? That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend, from someone who has nothing to substantiate it.
Or, the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. You suggest this may have been a suicide, Counsel.
Objection!
Mr. Shamsmere has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted.
Objection!
But he could be lying. Now you're...
I need to stop doing that. I really need to stop doing that. Sorry. It's just, that's a bad habit I'm forming.
Is something wrong, Lord Fanseeks? I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray forgive the discourtesy.
Carriage? What carriage?
It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived.
Hold it. Is the victim here?
Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
I think I'm getting his voice slightly wrong, but it's okay. Who, sir, are you?
William Shamspeare, my lord. Alas, 'twas I, undone by these bitter events. I am the victim.
What? What's he doing here?
The prosecution seeks to call this gentleman to the stand. With his testimony, my learned friend's futile resistance will be utterly crushed.
You're calling him as a witness. Very well, counsel, I grant your request with interest. I'm curious to discover what the court shall hear from the victim himself.
Happy am I, Shamspeare, to regale thee with my tale of woe, my lord. But I still have my own tale to tell, my own tale of worse woe. I can regale the court with my tale of my perfect innocence in perfect English.
That will do, Mr. Natame. Let the court now hear from the victim. Alright, so that's Mr. Shamspeare. But who's the other man beside him? Yes, I think, I feel sure that we've caught a glimpse of that man before.
How has he not noticed?
State your names and occupations for the court, please. Witnesses.
One second.
A writer. A writer of words so sweet, they do scent the breeze. An inventor of ideas so profound, they compose the earth. The unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe, William Shakespeare. Were the great bard to be recalled to life anew, lo, what a magnificent man. Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shakespeare.
Oh, the name's Metterman. Adron B. Metterman.
Oh, Maternman. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Meterman. His name is... His name is Adron R. Meterman.
I work for the Altamont Gas Company East End branch office.
Ah, I remember now. It was yesterday on Briar Road. Oh yes, she's right. It's him. It's the meter man. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? He looks like he's trying to see into Sasaki-san's lodgings. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruto? Excuse me, could we have a word? Yes, we spotted him outside Mr. Gerdup's house that morning. And he's a gas company employee. What does he have to do with this case? So, Mr. William Shakespeare, you are the victim in this affair? Miserable affair, correct?
Oh, heaven, oh, hell, do you command me to remember that sweet poison that didst cross me and cross mine innocent lips? I subpoenaed him for the trial, with his doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony of the aggrieved will remove any room for doubt from the jurors' minds, I'm sure. Behold, you have only to rearrange the letters of my name to see that me's a seraph, an angel, indeed.
Okay. He just scrambled the letters for Shamsphere. Excuse me.
Thus be I noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as all heavenly angels be.
Because there isn't a less contrived meaning in your name. No, not at all. A sham. The jurors seem to be very moved by this man. I'm afraid. They're actually taking this serif anagram idea seriously. Thank you, witnesses, for your illuminating introductions. But, my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shamsphere doing here? The gas man, I mean.
What? Me? Well, now.
Allow me to enlighten my learned friend. You recall, I presume, your earlier impertinence? When you suggested that the victim had another visitor to his room on the night in question. And, moreover, that the victim is a compulsive liar.
What? No, I didn't quite say that.
This young chin stroker is here to controvert your wild claims conclusively. Is that not so, Mr. Meterman?
Hang on. No, I'm just here.
I hereby call for your formal testimonies. Why is he here? You will tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened on the night in question.
One may smile and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but let the truth be spoken, the truth of that wintry night of my discontent. The snow lay about. My neighbor did cometh in the evening, bearing a gift of tea. But merry, bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall prostrate on my table. 'Twas the tea alone did pass my lips that late hour, naught else.
I was outside this bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room. No one else visited his room but that short little round-backed eastern fella.
Wait, what did you say? You were keeping an eye on Mr. Shamspier's room all night. But you can't see it from outside.
That's right, of course. The bloke's window is all but blocked up, isn't it? But there's a little gap in the bricks where you can see into the room. So I spent the night trying to keep my teeth from chattering as I peered in through that.
But the bricks were in place. The bricks were in place when we got to the scene of the crime. The question is, sir, why?
Well now, that's because he's on my list.
What a piece of work is a man! Wherefore wouldst thou not stare in wonderment?
What are you talking about?
This buzzing busybody hath not part in this play. I pray thee, pay him no heed, make no more ado about his tedious words.
What'd you say about me?
Calm yourself. This court is concerned with what happened on the night in question. Nothing more.
Indeed, that is so.
And as the testimony we have just heard clearly reveals, there was no one other than the accused present at the time who could have carried out this crime.
This is already still full of holes. Well, I believe this may be the final testimony of the trial. So, we're going to take a look at this photograph, and we're going to take note here that the loose bricks are in place. So presumably, they have been in place the whole time. There's also a mysterious stain on the floor over here that may or may not be relevant, but it is under the gas meter, and now we do have the gas meter man, named Meterman. So, there's we have some problems here. It's also quite strange that Shamspear is trying to discredit the meter man. Like, he's intentionally trying to make it so he's not going to say whatever he knows. So, I think we have a pretty easy in to find inconsistencies with this testimony. Well, I believe this may be the final testimony of the trial. Now, counsel, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. The wintry night of my discontent. Alright, I'm gonna go refill my water really quick, so I'll be back in a couple minutes. I'm also gonna get a snack so that maybe I'll stop yawning. More sugar. Woo. But yeah. So I'm gonna go get more water and something sweet. I'll be back in a minute. Sorry. And we'll get into this mess of a cross-examination. It certainly will be a mess. Alright. Be right back.
Okay, I have returned. Sorry, I'm a little slow. But now I have ice cream. Flawless. Alright. Now we have to cross-examination this guy. Oh no. The snow lay about. My neighbor did cometh in the evening, bearing a gift of tea. Sorry, my headphones are not quite on right now. They are. Alright. Press. I'm not on the game. Bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall prostrate on my table.
Hold it!
Let me stop you there. Mr. Natsume left your room at 11 o'clock, but it wasn't until after 2 that the poison made you collapse. That amounts to more than 3 hours of missing time. Sorry. He's just... What is that dance he's doing? If the defendant had really put the poison in your tea... That 3-hour window of time is something that you're going to have to explain. Gladly. 'Tis an easy task. What? I did drink of the tea, not while my guest didst to tarry, but after he took leave of me. What is he doing? Faith, 'twas stone cold, but at 1 hour post midnight, verily were my lips parched.
Objection!
That doesn't sound normal. Nay, 'tis quite ordinary, sire. After all... Thou wouldst recall our fiery debate. Amidst such argument, there'd be no time for fiery tea. Romeo and Juliet again, and who was stronger? So, are you suggesting that Natsume didn't drink the tea and then you had both cups? You should take a look at these. This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of this cup is completely clean. I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. I always gulp it down too. Sorry,
Mr. Naruto. Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold. Clearly, I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to take tea. But there is a tea ring on this cup, which I guess substantiates this testimony. But also, doesn't it mean they could test it for poison? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is... right. This must be the cup that Mr. Shamspear was drinking from them. It's stained on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea. Oh really? I've never noticed before. You've never noticed? Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear. So many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture, and most of them are Japanese. Is there anything else of note besides the insides of the cups? I guess not.
Mr. Shamspear, in summary, allow me to confirm. Did you not come here with the intention of naming your attacker? But of course, my liege. 'Twas the stooped lover of words did attempt to shuffle me off this mortal coil.
We all know what that means.
Hold it!
So, you didn't have any kind of evening meal? Dinner? Supper? Huh? Fie on luxury, fie on gluttony. To eat thrice daily is but a waste of time. Sorry? Why is he jumping that? I would that my belly were full, no more oft than the sun doth rise. Well, most heroic eating habits, I must say. Night and day do I fill my hours with learned study of the great bard and playwright. Hence, it is
Hence is it that there doth not in my chamber be then the costumes of mine art.
Hence is it that there doth not in my chamber be. Okay. I follow the logic. We're good.
That would appear to be the case, as even a rodent was found starved to death in your room.
Wow. Sorry. Now that I think of it, that's not the. It's not just food that was conspicuously missing from that room, is it? I don't recall seeing a single play or script anywhere.
For I have devoured them all.
You've eaten them.
Every word be within my skull. Didst thou imagine otherwise?
Right. That wasn't misleading at all. Now, could you turn around, do you think?
Which brings us to the conclusion that the only way the poison could have passed the victim's lips is in the tea.
Huh.
Hold it!
But the windows of that house have all been filled in. A historical artifact of the now defunct window tax.
Yeah, you're right there. All bricked up horribly. But as it happens, there's a little part of brickwork at the bottom corner that's been opened up. When I was looking through that gap,
Yes, there were a few bricks loose, weren't there? And for some strange reason, a couple of bars of soap lined up on the ledge outside as well.
I don't like going around poking my chin in other people's business, especially on freezing cold nights. But them's my orders, so that's what I'll keep doing, as long as there's breath in my body.
What's with all the theatricals today?
Out of interest, Mr. Meterman, after the accused had left and returned to his own lodgings, did you see the victim leave the room at all?
No, he never left. He was in that room the whole time as far as I'm concerned.
And we can therefore discount the possibility of suicide.
How can you be sure of that?
The police carried out a thorough investigation of the scene and found no receptacle for the poison. And since we know the victim didn't leave his room and hence didn't dispose of the poison's container himself,
Sorry, I'm struggling a little bit with Fanzeek's voice now for some reason.
it's it's clear that this was no attempted suicide. Only the culprit could have removed the receptacle.
Ah, yes. Lucidly explained, counsel. Thank you. It really was. You can't argue with the logic.
Hold it!
You say a short, little, round-backed Eastern fella. So you can't be sure it was the defendant then.
Objection!
How many other short, little, round-backed Nipponese with a mustache do you think there are in London?
Well, of course, it's only a narrow gap and it was quite dark, so I didn't notice the mustache. But he showed up at around 9, I'm pretty sure of myself.
And when the person you saw arrived, did he and Mr. Shamspear drink tea together?
Nah, sorry, I couldn't say.
Why not?
Because I couldn't see into the room all that well, could I? But what I did see was the silhouette of that little round-backed fella wearing a pretty dress. Then the pair of them started some kind of wrestling match. I tell you, I didn't know what to make of it.
Wait, they were actually wrestling? Why? That would be quite a shocking thing to just randomly see. Huh. I suppose that was the Romeo and Juliet championship battle getting underway.
Mr. Meterman, allow me to confirm one final time. Apart from the accused, can you state with certainty that no one else visited the victim on the night in question?
No question Gasman's armor. Honor.
So that's the entire testimony. What do you think, Mr. Naruto? Well, I can't see any obvious holes at all, to be honest. No. Oh dear. If nobody else visited Mr. Shamspier's room that night, apart from Mr. Natsume, I imagine the members of the jury will all conclude the same thing. Right, that he's guilty. Well, all we can do now is press them for more info.
Hold it!
To be clear, by neighbor, you are referring to the defendant, Mr. Natsume? Oh, indeed, sire. Perchance thou wouldst that I call him, the man from upstairs. And what time did the mustached Nipponese visit you in your room? Excuse me. Our meeting was promised for the hour of 9, and lo, did he come to tender a gift of fragrant tea. Details which are in accordance with the defendant's own testimony, yes. And we were broiled in such a literary debate as history hath not seen before. By which I presume he means their discussion about who was the stronger, Romeo or Juliet. I, Shamspeare, did play the part of young Romeo, whilst my neighbor played the fair Juliet. Each of us dressed as would our characters be, to bring weight upon our merry experiment. I dare not imagine the scene. Frailty, thy name is woman. Canst thou imagine how dismayed I was? Yes, I had heard of the Eastern art of jujitsu, but ne'er did I dream 'twould be a skill practiced by the comely maiden. Juliet beat Romeo up. This is not helping our case. Also, what is the... That has no grounds as a legitimate literary debate. I believe the court has heard enough about your earth-shattering literary debate. Perhaps you could reiterate your statement about the tea that the accused brought to your room. My liege, I am thy servant. Gladly I would do thy bidding.
My lord!
Goodness me. Yes, Mr. Foreman?
I've kept my mouth shut and listened up to now. But this has gone on long enough. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Are we to understand that you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are in agreement with one another? That you reached a unanimous decision?
To right we have. Are you all with me?
Yes. Wait, no. The defense is in the middle of a cross-examination.
To be honest, I was holding out a bit of hope for you, young man. Especially after you identified those few hours that followed the accused leaving the victim's room.
Yes. The 3 missing hours, as you put it.
But in the end, what difference do they make? None as far as I can see.
And since that's now apparent, there's really no reason to delay our decision any longer.
Like I was saying before, if I don't take 5 bob home with me tonight, the missus will blow her top. Oh, what's that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said.
Very well. Let the court be apprised of your decisions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
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 Guilty. Guilty.
Well, you know what that means. It's time for a summation examination. Uh, all of you. Well, it would appear that the jury is indeed unanimous.
So, this time at least, it seems justice will be done. All's well that ends well, as they say. This calls for a toast, I feel.
Oops.
To the guilty being punished.
Ah. Okay, let me put this over here and hope it doesn't fall over. Can I get this to not fall over? I guess I can do that. That's okay. Get up, Mr. Naruto. Please. The trial isn't over yet. What do you mean, Miss Susato? What about the information I found in this encyclopedia of British law? That obscure right that belongs to the defense in these situations. Remember, a summation examination. Yes, that's right. We don't have a jury in Japanese courts, of course. But here, in a British court of law, if we can reverse the decisions of a majority of the jurors, we can force the trial to continue. This trial can't end now. Whatever it takes. I just can't let that happen. The defense moves to invoke its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Why am I not surprised at my learned Nipponese friends' inability to admit defeat? You choose to cling desperately to some archaic rule you barely comprehend instead of accepting the truth.
Certainly no other defense counselor in recent times has exercised the right to a summation examination.
Because they all know that once the jury's mind is set, it cannot be altered.
Nevertheless, the right remains and must be upheld. The defense counsel's request is granted. The court will proceed with the summation examination, as outlined in the Encyclopedia of British Law. Thank you, my lord. Are you and your fellows prepared, Mr. Foreman?
Believe me, my lord, we know all about this young man's tenacity. And we're ready for it.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Very well. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby call upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime for which he stands accused. Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions.
The victim may not be well off, but he's a noble man. And straight up, there's no reason to doubt the man.
Well, I do declare the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid.
Just look at the accused by comparison. He's Japanese, stoops all the while, and has a mustache. Very fishy.
Sorry, I'm upset. I'm upset at jury number 3. There's no evidence to suggest the gangling actor is a fraudsman. For now, at least.
I really don't care. I need the trial to end quickly.
$3 of missing time. I'm not doing this voice right at all.
Is nothing when you reach my age, you know. Nothing at all.
I knew it. Every single one of them seems completely convinced. It would seem that all the jurors have come to the conclusion that Mr. Shamspear is a fine, upstanding, and honest citizen. If you ask me, they've all been bewitched by his strange, theatrical movements. And sadly, nothing Mr. Natsume has said appears to have registered at all. Well, here goes. Let's not forget. I've pleaded with the jury on Soseki-san's behalf before, and it worked. So you never know. Before we begin, it might be an idea to remind you exactly how a summation examination works, Mr. Naruto. Oh. Well, you're still very new to British law, after all. That's true, I suppose. And Soseki-san's fate is entirely in my hands up to now. Well, now too. There's always a chance I might have forgotten some crucial detail. Perhaps I should hear Susato-san out. I wonder. No need. I remember perfectly well. Thank you for the kind offer, Miss Susato. But I've been through plenty of these summation examinations already now. I think it's important that we don't delay the start any longer than necessary. Of course. I understand. And I'm quite sure you're right. If you're confused by anything at any point, you can turn to me for advice whenever you like. I'll be here for you. The key to this is really carefully listening to each juror's statement. Finding two that are contradictory and pitting them against, and pitting the corresponding jurors against each other. Without further ado, please, counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Excuse me. Yes, my lord. The defense's rebuttal.
Hold it!
Well, there are plenty of people in London who seem noble but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars?
I have no doubt about it. Like that shaky client of yours, for example.
Absolutely not. Mr. Natsume is no liar.
Look, the point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was the Japanese man's tea. When you take the gasman's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any clearer.
Ah, well, that's alarmingly logical.
But let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman, with a gentleman's values. If it turns out that the old Shakespearean chum is a rotten liar after all, I'd gladly change my decision about the defendant.
And I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same. Isn't that right?
Yes, perhaps, though I don't see it happening.
Eh? Oh, what's that? Elderly gent on the end here, you know. You'll have to speak up.
Look, I really don't care about all this nonsense. I just need this trial to be over.
How many gentlemen do we actually have on the jury then? Alright, sir. I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you said. Alright, if you can show me that the victim's a liar, I'll reconsider my position. Progress?
Hold it!
Are you saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid? No, that's not what I said. The point is, the man is the victim here. What reason would he have to lie? And yes, he is rather splendid. So you say yet again. Meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously it's exhausting to look at him. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all. Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much.
Hold it!
No, no, no. Not one of those things is a reason to find the man guilty. Thank you, Ryunosuke.
But he is fishy. There's no point in dancing around the fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. You see, you arrive at the conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps. Like a waltz, in fact. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance.
You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though. And you're on the wrong foot. No. There's nothing but circumstantial evidence here. There's no proof of the defendant's guilt.
But the victim's version of events is backed up by what the big-chinned man next to him is saying, isn't it? 1, he saw the Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. And 3, he saw the Japanese man there. Oh.
That's another 3 steps. All this really does seem more and more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right, and the prosecution will waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more.
Hold it!
A fraudsman. What do you mean by that, madam? It really is a most tiresome problem for the company. Most irritating. We can be absolutely certain that a customer is stealing from us, but without hard evidence. We can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued. I'm sorry, you've lost me a little there. Who are you? I'm the wife of Augustus, Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company. Good gracious. Altamont Gas, you say? Gas is the future of energy in this country and around the globe, but proper handling is essential. As I'm sure our employee from the East End branch office would be first to agree.
Absolutely, Lady Quimby. Gotta be used properly. Altamont gas is the best in the world, of course.
I think we may have solved the mystery of the bow from earlier, Mr. Naruto. Right, he bowed in deference to his employer's wife, did he? So would I be right in assuming that the reason Mr. Meterman was watching what Mr. Shakespeare was up to in his room? I'm afraid there's no end to the lengths the population of the East End will go to in order to steal our gas. So I really have no choice when the company identifies somebody as a possible fraudster, but to dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night. We're very thorough in our investigations. So you mean Mr. Shakespeare is... I wouldn't come out and say it in public, but you can finish that sentence with a grubby little gas thief. You have noticed the public gallery in here, haven't you? The eye of the man hath not heard, the ear of the man hath not seen. Faith, wouldst thou wound me with thy words, were I to let them penetrate the skin? But seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song. Sorry. We may not have hard evidence yet, but my workers won't stop buzzing around you until they find it. Sorry, she used the keyword buzzing, and I'm realizing that her outfit is black and white and her umbrella is very much bumblebee colors. And when they do, you'll find yourself blasted back to your angelic lights and an ultimate gas explosion. So Mr. Shakespeare has been stealing gas. I wonder, juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement. My pleasure. Was it the bit about ripping that thief apart that you enjoyed? A little before the part about abject violence, if it's not too much trouble. Yes, of course. This could be it. This could shift the balance. The victim
puts on a fine performance. But in reality, he's a common thief of my company's gas.
Hold it!
You keep talking about needing to take home some money. What's that all about, sir?
Finish, lass. That's what it's about.
What's that?
I'm talking about the derby at Hyde Park, aren't I? It was the Queen's Cup last week, wasn't it?
Derby.
It was a dead cert. That's the thing, I couldn't lose. So I took my wife's secret savings, But then, that hopeless old mare went and did the unthinkable. That stupid finish, lass.
Well, that was pretty horrible of you. Oh dear. I think it's clear what happened, isn't it?
This is the day the missus uses her savings for a trip down the pub. So come on, let this business lie now. Just give it up.
No, that's not going to happen.
Hold it!
What do you really mean by that, sir?
Well, I'm not one to boast, but I get up at 5 every morning, I do.
At 5? You're a really early riser then, aren't you?
What's that now?
I said, you're an early riser.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I like to while away the hours of the evening reading books as well. But,
Sorry. That was really bad.
but by about 2 in the morning, I'm usually too tired to go on.
I get the old man voices too hard. He sleeps at 2 in the morning and gets up at 5. Oh my. That means he only has 3 hours of sleep each night.
What's that, dear?
Only 3 hours of sleep each night.
That's right. You see, 3 hours of missing time, like I said, it's not much, is it?
This really isn't helping. The key to summation examinations is to identify contradictions between jurors' statements, Mr. Naruto. Right, and once sorry, I didn't read that with Susato's voice. Right, and once I've found 2 jurors whose statements can't coexist, I need to pit those jurors against each other. Then, hopefully, when they see that what they're saying doesn't make sense, they'll change their leaning. Excuse me. Yes, and if you're able to change the minds of a majority of the jurors, the trial will continue. But conversely, if you're unable to do that, the judge will declare the trial over and move on to adjudication. And I can't let that happen. Somehow or other, I have to turn this trial around.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious, to whose statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 1.
Hey, no, what are you yelling about, lad?
I presume you've heard juror number 4's statement, made by the wife of the owner of Ultimate Gas.
Well, yes.
The victim, who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man, in fact turns out to be a common thief.
So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there?
You and I both heard them say as much. It's true. We don't have evidence as such just yet. But the claims aren't baseless, you know.
What?
You heard me. Seeing as his operation has already been compromised, I would suggest that the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there.
I'll do whatever you say, my Lady Gasman's honor.
Juror number 1, you say you're a man of your word. If I could show you that Mr. Shamspear was a liar, you assured me that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt.
Yes, I did say that. And as a man of honor, I'll hold to it. As I'm sure the other gentlemen of the jury will.
Me? Oh well, yes.
Now that we found out the man's a liar, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further.
Well, if I perfectly am honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. So if this means you'll recap a few points, that would suit me down to the ground. Oh no, I'm not having any part of this.
I just want this trial to be over and done with.
In that case, I shall change my leaning. So, Mr. William Shamspear, if that is your real name, we of the jury demand to know exactly what kind of man you really are. We've done it. That's 4 jurors. 4 for not guilty. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Victory! Order! Order! Well, this is quite extraordinary, I must say. As a result of the defense's summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Now only 2 jurors say guilty, whilst 4 say not guilty. I therefore declare this court to be in a state of disaccord, and order the trial to continue. there goes this class.
You have spoilt the bouquet, Mr. Shamspear. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find they are unable to trust you, the victim. But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. So God, mend me, I do swear. This gasman speaketh that which concerns him most, naught but gas, naught but thin air. Aye, it burneth bright a while, but it hath no substance, and it doth reek foul.
Oi! What did you say?
Mr. Meterman also has bee-like colors. So he's the drone to the owner's wife being the queen bee. We've done it. I've solved the riddle. Do I take it, Mr. Shamspear, that you deny the allegations of gas thievery? Most heartily, my lord. Hast thou forgotten? I am as a seraph, an angel. Noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily, honest of heart.
Urgh. You flowery mouse, the pompous beanpole. Just 'cause I haven't got the evidence yet.
Mr. Shamspear, if, in fact, you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, or honest of heart, if you are a liar, then your testimony should have no sway in this courtroom. It is my considered opinion that at the present time, no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by the court thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case. Oh no. However, in light of the fact that the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be inappropriate for the court to not pursue the point further.
Objection!
I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of the court's time. The gas and this case are unrelated.
Juror number 4. Yes. Didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man had been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him? That's right. We do. Don't we? Worker.
Absolutely, Lady Quinby. Gashman's honor.
Very well then. We will hear your testimony now. You will tell the court precisely why you believe the victim, Mr. William Shamspear, has been stealing gas.
Yes, my lord, it'll be my pleasure. On the ultimate gas name, I swear.
If I may, my lord. Go ahead, madam. This worker's testimony may have a significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in a supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind.
Wahoo! Oh yeah, sweet as honey. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That is such an odd request for a juror to make. Very well. As an exception, I shall honor your request. Thank you, my lord.
You wait until the boss gives you an earful. Oh, it's gonna sting, you mark my words.
So, you will both testify before the court on the subject of the illegal consumption of the Altamont Gas Company's fuel. Yes. Is that clear, my good man?
Clear as ultimate gas, my lady. Which is the clearest in the world?
Oh, his like ascot handkerchief. Like he really has a Bumblebee themed outfit. I just realized that the color of his like scarf handkerchief ascot thing is also the typical color for a bee's wings. Do you think the gas has gone to his head, Miss Susata? I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruhodo. Witness testimony. The Altamont Gas Company's investigation.
I'm proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent. Altamont gas meters accept threepenny bit. Altamont gas meters accept threepenny bits, each coin giving customers about 2 hours of gorgeous gas.
And yet, the meter in Mr. Shamspear's room didn't have a single coin in it. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and the collection agent has the only key.
Somehow he's using all the flaming cash he wants, without paying a penny. If that's not thieving, what is?
Pray forgive the discourtesy. The irrelevance of this testimony has caused me to turn to my hollowed chalice.
What do you mean by that remark, Lord Van Zieks?
Did the mustached Nipponese poison the gangling excuse for an actor? Or didn't he? That is all that should concern the court. And yet, now we must listen to this abhorrence. Clearly, what separates the vast British Empire and your Eastern nation is more than geographical distance.
But this could turn out to be crucial testimony. The cross-examination must go ahead.
Do what you will.
Lord Van Zieks appears to be in a violent mood. Yes, he does. An attempted poisoning and an incident of gas theft with no supporting evidence. It's true that they would appear completely unrelated at first glance, but I wonder. The truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places, and the first step in uncovering it will be to establish just who and what this man really is.
Hold it!
So, does that mean you enter people's houses in order to empty their gas meters?
That I do.
No, excuse me. No, I'm sorry.
Have to try to catch people when they're in. Then I ask permission to come inside and do my business.
Does that mean you've been into Mr. Natsume's room before, as well as that of Mr. Shamspeare?
Well, now, interesting you should bring that up. 'Cause I couldn't believe how little money was in his meter. I mean, how the pair of them survived the winter is beyond me. It really is.
Knowing Mr. Natsume, he probably spends all his gas money on books. And then when he's finished reading them, he probably burns them for war. You'll kindly reiterate your statement about the gas meters themselves, Mr. Meterman.
Not much to say, really, but as you wish.
Hold it!
So all London houses that have a gas supply are fitted with these meters, are they? They're the latest model, the height of technology, developed by our company, Altamont Gas. And anyone who uses our gas will have one of these meters in their property, yes. So if a 3-pence coin gives 2 hours of gas, most people would use about 3 coins a night.
A bit more than that, usually. If they have both gas lights and a gas stove, that is.
Thinking about it, Soseki-san doesn't have a fireplace in that room of his, does he? Some people still choose to use candles, of course, and only have gas for heating. Ah, yes. I do remember seeing candles in Mr. Natsume's room, actually. And how does the money in the meter get back to you at the gas company?
Every 3 days, gasmen like me visit properties on the gas supply and empty the meters of coins.
I must say, the design and manufacture of the new meter cost the company an awful lot of money. But happily, it did put a stop to people not paying their dues, for the most part. Ah, because they have to pay in advance, you mean? Yes, exactly right.
Hold it!
Out of interest, how long has this been going on?
Weeks and weeks. He's been pinching gas off us for ages.
And you've examined the meter in Mr. Shamsphere's room, I take it. Naturally. We took it off the wall and went over it with a fine-tooth comb. And found nothing suspicious at all, I presume. No, I'm afraid we didn't. Which is exactly why I demanded a new type of meter to be produced. One with an indestructible lock, the Shamsphere Special. That sounds like it would have cost an awful lot of 3-penny pieces. But even after all that, the rascal's meter was still empty.
I'll never forget the humiliation. When I opened up the money box and found it bare. You what? I said, you what? And the look on his face, that smarmy smile of his. I pulled the meter straight off the wall and took it back to the office. But you know what? Nothing. Not a trace of it being jemmied open anywhere, not a single sign. And what's happened to my salary as a result? Down by 3 shillings a day, that's what.
A life-threatening situation in a number of ways. Incidentally, what became of that meter?
Nothing became of it, I've still got it.
Oh.
Right here.
No wonder they call you Meterman. I think it would be prudent for the court to sequester this item while the trial is going on. Definitely. Although at first glance, there doesn't appear to be anything unusual about it. Let's move this along, shall we? Continue with your testimony. Though I would say it has as much value as the contents of that meter.
Oof.
We got a gas meter as evidence now. No. Okay, so we have the lock. That's a very sturdy looking padlock, isn't it? And the money box is sealed with beeswax, too. So if Mr. Sholmes were to get up to any mischief, he'd be found out immediately. Mr. Naruhodo, mischief of that kind is not the sort of thing that Mr. Sholmes would... You know you didn't finish that sentence, don't you? Well, anyway, it's understandable that the gas company would want to safeguard the money that's rightfully theirs. But it does feel a little over the top, perhaps, doesn't it? See, what about this suspicious hole in the bottom of the cash box? Oh, what's... Have you spotted something, Mr. Naruto? Just here, there's a little hole, do you see? Goodness, you're right. I wouldn't have noticed. It's not a very neat hole, is it? Not professionally made, I'd say. So, you think it might have been opened up by Mr. Shamspear? Possibly. It seems the people at Altamont Gas must have missed it. Well, it certainly seems to go all the way through to the inside. Yes, but there's no way a coin could fit through there. That's true. But even so, it seems more than a little suspicious. Wait, is that why he has the soap? So that... Okay, sorry. I saw her spinning her umbrella, but like behind the evidence window, and it made me so confused for a moment. Her parasol.
Objection!
Lady Altamont, I'm afraid to say that this meter does clearly show signs of having been tampered with. What?
Get away! I've been over and over and over that thing. I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with it.
In that case, what do you have to say about this small hole that's been made at the base of the coin box?
Oh, what?
You're right. You're quite right. There's a little hole there. The meters aren't supposed to have that. None of the others do. In other words, we can assume that Mr. Shamspear secretly opened this hole himself. Yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised. But why?
Yeah, why? I mean, it's tiny. You couldn't get a farthing through that.
Lady Altamont, I wonder if you could give the court some more details about your meter design. What sort of details? Well, what I'd specifically like to know is how it differentiates coins. How does the meter tell the difference between different coins? What do you mean? Well, for example, if someone were to put in a 1 penny coin, that wouldn't work, presumably, would it? No, of course not. So, well, how does the meter know that the coin it's been fed is a threepenny bit? Ah, I see what you're getting at now. The meter tells coins apart by their shape and size, which includes their thickness. A threepenny bit is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, you see. Other coins just won't fit. I see, it's clearly been very well thought out. The witness will amend her formal testimony with that information in case it's pertinent. As you wish, my lord. The meter is designed for coins of the exact diameter and thickness of the threepenny bit. Nothing else will fit. Oh, look at this bar of soap. There's a circular depression on this side, about 2 centimeters across. Or 3/4 of an inch. Ah, do you think... We did find this soap at the scene, didn't we? Yes, yes. There were 2 bars on that little ledge, just outside the window, so we took this one. But I'm sure that when we first found it, there was some sort of reddish medallion in the middle there. I remember it clearly. Yes, but there's no sign of it now. Where could it have gone? Wait, what? Wait, what kind of chemical magical trick is this? Sorry, I remembered seeing the red circle on this bar of soap, but I have no idea why it's gone.
Objection!
Let me just confirm something here. If the diameter and thickness were to be correct, the meter would accept any object as if it were a threepenny bit. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Well, by something of a coincidence, while we were investigating Mr. Shamspeare's room... we found a particular item that matches the dimensions perfectly. Something the same size as a threepenny bit. What was it? The item in question is this.
What? Have you been inhaling gas? That's a bar of soap.
It certainly looks nothing like a threepenny bit, I must say. It looks like I'm going to have to point out exactly what I mean here. What's so important about the soap is this part here.
Got it!
You have to turn over the soap to see what I mean. Oh. Are you referring to that round depression in the middle of the soap there? Oh! Okay, I've actually figured out the entirety of how he's doing this. So, he's using the soap as a mold to freeze something outside his window, then inserting the frozen fake coin into the meter, and then the coin melts, draining out through the hole he created. So that's why there's that giant stain on the floor of his apartment. Because whatever liquid he's freezing, or lowering the temperature enough to make it solid instead of a liquid, whatever he's using for that to mold fake coins to put into the meter is draining onto the floor. That's right. A depression that's approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Or in other words, almost exactly the same size as a threepenny bit.
Get away!
Does anyone here present have in their possession a threepenny bit? Quickly now, hand over your coins, ladies and gentlemen. It sounds rather like a highway robbery, doesn't it? Yeah, the judge is mugging everyone here. Thanks to a kind member of the public in the gallery, I have here a threepenny bit. Now, to see if it fits. My word, it couldn't be more snug. Yes, as I suspected. This is without a doubt. This, without a doubt, is a vital clue to explain how the Altamont Gas Company is being defrauded. Well, I don't believe it.
So, your assertion amounts to what? That some inferior bar of soap has a tentative connection to the theft of gas?
Yes. The depression in the soap was clearly made by a threepenny bit. I must concur, at least, that pushing a coin with some force into a poor quality bar of soap such as this is a remarkably simple way of replicating the coin's shape.
And then you could use, well, some melted wax or something to pour into the mold. And you could make fake coins in no time.
They both have very much B-coordinated outfits. I like it. This brings all the pieces of the puzzle together. It's the method Mr. Shamsphere has been using to steal the gas. That's the missing link. And now, if I follow the chain of thought, it's going to bring me to a new explanation for what happened that nobody's considered yet. But this is all nonsense. If the man had been making fake coins, my worker here would have found them when he emptied the meter. Quite true, Lady Altamont. In the absence of some black magic that could make them disappear.
I see. That's what we're dealing with, is it? There is one form of black magic that could cause the fake coins to disappear into thin air. Yes.
Exactly. And the meter here gives it away. What on earth? There are remnants of the magical method used visible on the gas meter taken from the victim's room. If that is your assertion, counsel, the defense will identify the remnants for the court at once. Van Zeke sees it too.
Got it!
We found this bar of soap at the scene of the crime, just outside the victim's window.
Outside?
Yes, outside. Where you yourself, Mr. Mitterman, were loitering in the freezing winter air. That's where we found this soap.
Ah, I get it.
That's right. The answer is, of course, ice.
Did you just say...
Did you just say ice? Mr. Shamspear has been leaving soaps like this outside his window each evening, filled with water. After a night outside in the bitter cold, the water is completely frozen solid the next morning. Then he takes his fake coins of ice and feeds them into the gas meter, giving him light and warmth in spades. As his room becomes very comfortably warm, the ice now inside the meter's coin box melts. I'm surprised I figured that out that fast, to be honest. Turning back into water and draining harmlessly away through the small hole made in the underside of the meter. That is how, without leaving any evidence of his wrongdoing, this man has been stealing Altamont gas. Just like that. So simply. Is he trying to make us look like idiots? He's been fooling us all with some bars of soap and some water. That's right, madam. Although doesn't water technically disintegrate soap a bit? I don't believe it. It can't be true. Do you have any idea how much money we spent to develop that new meter? And now you have the audacity to suggest that a bit of soap and some water can render it totally useless. I'm fairly sure I didn't design it. Evidence. Sorry. I want evidence. If you're going to stand there and tell me our meters are rubbish, I want to see proof. She's very good at enforcing accountability, isn't she? Very well, Lady Altamont. If you'd like evidence, I'll provide it. What? What? Mr. Naruhodo, are you saying you do actually have evidence to support this theory? I did notice a trace of something that bothered me a little at the time. And I have a feeling that this theory we've come up with now could explain it. The piece of evidence that substantiates the theory about how Mr. Shamspear has been stealing gas is this photograph of the crime scene.
Take that!
This is a photograph of the scene at the point when the victim was discovered, taken by Inspector Gregson. As it clearly shows, the remnants of the crime carried out by Mr. Shamspear. What remnants? Here you can see the gas meter on the wall in Mr. Shamspear's room. Now look closely at the floorboards directly underneath the meter. What? What is that? Some kind of grubby stain? Almost certainly, it's a water stain, resulting from the liquid that drained out of the hole made in the meter. If one coin gives around 2 hours of gas usage, and the occupant was heating his room in all his waking hours, we can imagine he would have used an amount of 10 of his fake coins each day. The melting ice inside the meter's coin box would have been dripping out almost constantly, leaving a stain on the floor. This is awful. And there's further evidence, too. Mr. Shamsphere is slumped over the table, apparently having consumed strychnine. And right next to him is a bar of soap, broken in half. You're right. It would appear to me then, Counsel, that the man was eating the soap, was he?
Pardon me for disagreeing with your lordship, but certainly not.
He didn't beat around the bush there, did he? In truth, Mr. Shamsphere was found with a fork in his hand. A meal of soap is sounding increasingly likely, Mr. Wait, let me read that right. A meal of soap is sounding increasingly likely, Lord Von Zieks.
Do you mean to say he was using that fork to...
Yes. To extract a frozen coin from the bar of soap. Ah. But the bar broke in half. So perhaps it didn't go very well. Good gracious. Okay, we figured out why he had a fork. Von Zieks has killed another spectator. He's attained a body count of 2 so far in this trial. Lord Van Zieks.
I was throwing my hand up in despair and happened to catch my hollowed bottle on the way. Pray forgive my maladroit mistake.
What is the meaning of this, Counsel?
Allow me to pose my learned friend a question. What exactly did you establish with your most recent cross-examination?
Well... that Mr. William Shamsphere is a liar and a thief. In other words, that his testimony is unreliable. That's it. That's exactly it.
Very well. Now let us assume the man is a liar. Now allow me to pose another question. What possible difference does that make?
Well...
we know that suicide can be discounted. Scotland Yard's investigation revealed no sign of another vessel that contained the poison. And on the night in question, there were no visitors to the room, except the accused. The young gasman's testimony, which we have no reason to doubt, has confirmed that. Furthermore, the only possible way the poison could have entered the victim's body is via the tea. The court has seen no evidence whatsoever that suggests otherwise. Even if William Shamspeare is the liar you claim him to be, these facts have been objectively established. There's no escaping it. Therefore, in light of these facts, the prosecution calls for immediate adjudication.
You... What? Order. Order. Well, counsel, how does the defense respond? Mr. Naruhodo. What was the point of that last cross-examination? Did it actually get us anywhere? Or did it make no difference at all, like Lord Van Zeeks was saying? Raise an objection. Do I know where I'm going with this? No. No. This isn't over. The defense will not rest.
What?
But counsel, you've successfully explained everything. You've identified and substantiated the unscrupulous method employed by Mr. Shamspeare to consume gas. What more is there to discuss? Lord Van Zeeks just highlighted 3 facts in order to make his point. But contrary to what he would have the court believe, not all of them have been objectively established at all.
What are you trying to say, my Nipponiese friend?
At least one of those so-called facts is an assumption, made due to a lack of evidence. But the situation has changed now, following the cross-examination of the latest witnesses to take the stand.
Don't be absurd. What is this nonsense?
Yes, when you bring everything we've learned so far together and consider it as a whole, it's clear. There's a question that we now need to reconsider. Namely, was there another visitor? I think this is the end thing. The question we have to consider is, was there poison in the tea? Because objectively, we haven't proven that there was poison in the tea. But the real thing is, was there another visitor? Because I think that the gasman couldn't see inside the whole time. So either of these 2 answers is something I could reasonably raise as an objection here. I'll try the poison first, because we can technically maybe test it. We've all been led to believe that the strychnine poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare was in the tea brought to him by Mr. Natsume, but that's conjecture at best.
The victim has testified that nothing else passed his lips that night. There is definitely no other possibility. And since there was no trace of the tea left at the scene, it couldn't be tested for traces of poison.
As I said, the situation has changed. Because in fact, some of Mr. Natsume's tea was left at the scene, and a particular piece of evidence proves it.
A ludicrous claim. Scotland Yard detectives investigated the scene exhaustively. What evidence are you suggesting they missed?
The defense has made a bold claim indeed. Very well, counsel. Present your proof. What evidence from the scene of the crime can tell us about the nature of the defendant's tea?
Take that!
What exactly is this piece of evidence supposed to reveal about Mr. Natsume's tea, counsel? Well, I suspect it may, possibly, be
And then you will be digging for a very long time indeed, my learned friend.
Dang it. Oh, I figured it out. There's some residue of the tea in the gas meter.
Take that!
What exactly is this piece of evidence supposed to... Dang it! Why? Why? What am I missing? Is that actually a tea stain on the floor? What? Okay, 1 second. What am I missing here? It's either... Okay, I have 2 lives left. It's either the soap or the... The soap or the crime scene photograph. Because the pump outside was frozen.
Take that!
What exactly is this piece of evidence supposed to reveal about Mr. Natsume's tea, counsel? Okay, Sorry, I don't quite follow the train of thought.
Take that!
Good gracious. Okay, we found it. The soap. Again. The same bar of soap the victim used to fashion his coins of ice. Yes, that's right, my lord. It's just come back to me. Something about when we first found this bar of soap at the scene yesterday. It's more bars of soap. Soap, what are bars of soap doing lined up on the ledge outside the window? I'm quite certain that when we originally stumbled upon the bars of soap, there was actually a frozen coin in each bar.
So, you discovered the gas thief's coin factory? Fascinating.
In a way, yes. But there's more. The coins we found in the soap at the time weren't normal ice. There was something strange about them, you mean? Exactly. Something very obviously strange. They were red.
The ice was red? No. You mean...
That's right. It's obvious to me now. The fake coins in the soap were made from frozen tea.
What?
I would remind the court of a statement made by Mr. Natsume earlier in this trial. That evening, yes. I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspier's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Ah, yes, I believe there had been a snowfall that day. It was particularly cold. Sadly, on such occasions, the poorly constructed water mains in the East End are prone to freezing. So, on the night in question, Mr. Shamspier, having no running water to use, was forced to use the tea brought by Mr. Natsume in order to make his fake coins. My word! And there's still one on the windowsill. There were 2 bars of soap on the window ledge when my judicial assistant and I investigated the scene. That's right. And we only borrowed one of them. Which means that even as we speak, some of the defendant's tea is still present at the scene of the crime, frozen solid in a bar of soap outside Mr. Shamspier's window. Extraordinary. Earlier today, Inspector Gregson informed the court that if even one drop of the tea remained, Scotland Yard would be able to analyze it for poison. As such, we are now in a position to prove or disprove what has until now been mere conjecture. By finding out for sure whether or not Mr. Natsume's tea actually contains strychnine at all.
You smug Nipponese.
My lord, we cannot do the defendant the injustice of passing judgment now. The police should be dispatched to recover the remaining bar of soap from the scene at once, and the defense requests a thorough analysis of the frozen tea embedded in it to determine whether or not it contains any poison. Bailiff! Bailiff! Instruct the police to attend to the scene at once.
Yes, my lord, understood.
That's insane. It would seem we have no choice but to suspend the proceedings for the time being. I trust you have no objection, Lord Fonzies.
None, my lord.
Scotland Yard will recover the tea from the scene and carry out the requisite tests immediately. The trial will resume at the same hour tomorrow. The prosecution and defense may conduct further investigations as appropriate in the interim. Yes, my lord. Well, we managed to scrape through there somehow. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned until tomorrow. To be continued. Well, we're getting somewhere. But this can only get more complicated now. This can only get more and more complicated. Because if we can... Okay. I'm guessing that the poison will be found in the tea, because of course it would be. But, that would be a problem for us. But yeah, we'll have to, we get to investigate more next time.
So we'll have to hop to it then. So that'll be But yeah, I'll be wrapping up the stream now because we came to the end of the part and it's been closing in on 4 hours. Um so yeah. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you all have a good rest of your day or evening or whatever. And I would like to say I will be live again at 8 p.m. EST, so in 2 hours and 45 minutes, I'll be live again. We're going to be playing some Tactical Breach Wizards since I didn't play it yesterday. So between now and then, I'm going to go eat dinner and stuff and then set up the next stream. So I will see you then. Thanks for watching again, and I hope you're enjoying this game as much as I have been. We'll continue this one next week, but yeah. I'll be back in a couple hours. Bye bye for now.